Alright, so we are live. Looks like it at least. So I just got this new phone mount and I'm gonna try it out with this live video and see how it goes. So we're gonna do a sketch session and I'm just gonna show you basically what I would do if I had no idea what to sketch and I want to just start out sketching anything. First of all, the tools I'm going to be using is my favorite Bic round stick, which is right here. It's basically the cheapest pen that you can find, but it works well, so I love to use it. And for the paper, I just use cheap printing paper right now. And to start out, basically what you want to do is to sketch. Okay, I can see my video on the desktop, that's cool. Basically start out by filling in this paper. And it can be with whatever lines you want. You can create some cool looking shapes. At this stage, it doesn't have to be anything specific. The thing with the idea with filling in a sheet of paper is to get your hand going. And just to get warmed up, basically. So just go crazy, and this is a bit too detailed, even this thing. So what we want to do is just start by adding some lines and some curvatures to this paper. Something like this, and then sometimes you see some product in these shapes. And you can go from there to sketch the thing that you're actually seeing in these shapes and start to render those things and get some ideas down for that product. But these doesn't really look like anything yet, so I'm just gonna continue. I kinda know what I'm gonna sketch anyway. It's going to be a car. Of course. Well, this is a good exercise if you haven't sketched anything all day and you want to get going. Just loosen up the hand. And what I like to do is to sketch with my elbow. So I keep my wrist locked at most times. And just sketch with the elbow and the shoulder. And that's going to give me more clean lines. I mean, I can show you an example. So if I use the wrist to sketch these big ellipses here, I'm not sure I can even do that, but let me try. So I'm using the wrist now to sketch an ellipse. And that's how that turned out. Pretty awful. So if I use the elbow or even the shoulder and just make big movements and do the same shape, you can see that it's a lot smoother. And that's kind of the secret, if you want to call it that, on how to get clean lines. At least my secret that I use all the time. We can also put some circles in here. And to sketch circles, the best way to sketch circles is to actually look at it from your view. So straight from the top, you should have your eyeballs right here. And then keep the pen straight up like this. And then you just go ahead and sketch circles. That's the best way to practice, at least, to sketch circles, in my opinion. So we're starting to fill up this paper, it's starting to look good. And my hand is starting to get warmed up. And I feel like I am ready to sketch a car in side view, so let's do that. If you hear a noise in the background, that's the kitty litter machine. We just got it from Amazon. It's pretty cool. It just cleans the litter by itself, so I don't have to do it anymore. But it's very loud, so that's the downside of it, I guess. Let's just change the music. Alright, so I'm gonna sketch a side view for this. And show you basically the steps I take to sketch a regular car in side view. And I want it to be a front engine sports car, so two-door car. And it starts very simple. It starts with a single line like this. And from here we want to put out the axles, and by that you put out the wheels. And that's going to determine the size of the car. Usually, if you don't know the distance between these axles, there are some guidelines on how to figure that out. But usually I think it's 3 wheels in between the two. So 1, 2, 3, something like this. And the circles right now, don't worry if they're not perfect, it doesn't matter at all. Because we're going to go over this so many times that these initial lines are not even going to be visible at the end. And from here I like to add a baseline. So that's the baseline of the car. And when I start, I like to keep the lines long and big and not go into any details at all at this stage. So you want to keep it loose and just think about the general idea of your sketch and try to put that down on paper. And there are some guidelines for this as well. I'm going to talk about those in a second. Just going to finish the greenhouse. It's a super sleek design. I think this is right here is a bit too short. Not sure if I'm gonna keep it like that, or I'm just gonna keep it for now. So anyway, some guidelines when you sketch stuff like this is that the top of the hood, the highest point of the hood, is going to be right above the front wheel. So right here, that's gonna be the top of the highest point of the hood. And the reason for that is because you have a lot of mechanical stuff going on in here, like the spring and all of that. You want to give space to those components inside. And for the greenhouse, you want to keep the highest point of the greenhouse is obviously going to be where the dude in here, or the girl, is sitting. So you want to give that person as much headroom as possible. And he's obviously not going to fit in here. He's going to lay down like a Formula 1 driver in this car. Let's see. It's going to be something like this. Because it's too low, obviously. But this is just for exercise purposes. It's going to look cool. That's good. Because it's such a low design. Thanks for the comments, everybody. I start to see them coming in here. This Facebook Live is a cool thing. And since this front view here, the front of the car is always a curve. So what that means is that you're going to see the side. You're going to see the things that you think might only be visible from the front. You're going to see those from the side as well. So, for example, the headlight here is going to wrap around this corner, and you're going to see it from the side view as well. Same thing with this front windscreen here. This line here is way too thick right now, but it's fine. So you wanna visualize the windscreen as well, because that's a wraparound design too. It's have a curvature to it, meaning that you will see it from the side view as well. So it's not just a single A-pillar going down, bam, right here, and you don't see any windscreen. I'm not too happy with this line right here, but I guess I'll keep it for now. From here we can start to design the side window. Something like this. I need to lower this wheel because it's way too high. Cool. Just finish this front off like this. Keep it very basic. Yeah, circles are not that easy to sketch freehand. So even if we have this in side view, that we're still sketching in perspective. We don't want to sketch in isometric view because it's kind of boring and it doesn't look exciting at all. So I always try to keep things in perspective, even if I sketch a simple side view like this. And that means that we're gonna see the wheels, for example, underneath the car, and we're gonna see them on the other side of the car. And I also like to add the shading of the car on the ground, because otherwise it looks like the car is floating in mid-air, and it doesn't have a good stance to it if you just leave out this shadow down here. So we have the top part there, we have the hood right there. This is a bit still too low, but I'm gonna keep it like this. We can add a front or a rear fender to this car and have it go something like that. Maybe we can even create a feature, that a graphic that looks like this. Why not? It's kind of weird to have this graphic if it's a front engine car, because what this does on sports cars is it's cooling the engine on the back. The air intake is right here. But let's say we have let's say that this is a hybrid, so we have an electric engine or motor back here that needs this massive cooling air intake right here. That's how we justify this. And we can add some thing at the back, like some air outlet. What else? What can we do? This is looking like an egg, so I kind of want to fix this circle. I don't know if that fixed it, but still good for now. And this is a window, so what that means, it's obviously transparent. And we are going to see this A-pillar here. It's going to be visible on the other side through the window. And that's going to give it, these small details are adding depth to the sketch. So it doesn't look flat even if you only sketch with a big pen. You can still add depth by adding these kind of details. And I want to keep the baseline. I want to add weight to the baseline. This also has to do with adding weight to the design. Line weight, very important to keep that in mind. So I forgot to mention, when you're starting this sketch, you need to keep in mind where the light source is, because the light source is going to help you understand where to put shade and where to put highlights. So I like to keep things simple, so I always have the same light source, and that is the sun coming from up here. So all the surfaces that are facing up towards the sky are going to be lighter than surfaces facing down towards the ground. And that has to do, that's part of the line weight as well. All surfaces or lines that are facing down needs to have a thicker line or a stronger line weight to them. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, just I'm seeing the comments, so I can answer them live if you have anything you want to ask. So this surface right here is facing down, so I'm adding this a thicker line weight to that. These baselines here are facing down towards the ground, and that means that they're going to be darker than all the other lines. Same thing with this line right here, or this edge. Add some line weight to it, just to get some contrast in there. Headlight. And let's make a some rear light design. Something basic. Keep it simple. Now to the part that I don't really like to do, and that is sketching wheels, because it takes such a long time usually. If you want to do it properly, it takes a while to sketch wheels. And I don't have that kind of patience usually. So what I do is I just create a center point of the wheel, like that. And then I create 5 spokes, 5 or 6 spokes, doesn't really matter, from that center point. Easy. Same thing with this. These are going to be like 36-inch rims. Totally fine. We are going to add a tire to it later, so it's not going to be massive. And what I want to do now is to connect these spokes by adding a curve in between them, like this. Very simple way to sketch wheels if you're like me and want to get it over with. This is a good idea. Messed up a little bit there, but that's fine. Same thing, exactly the same thing on the front here. Also fill in the line weight for the wheel arches as well. You can do that, or I mean, if you're only doing using the big pen for the sketch, then you might want to do it, but I'm going to use markers on this later, so I'm going to leave it now because I'm going to fill it in with black anyway, so it doesn't matter. And from here, I think we're ready to start sketching with markers. Just adding a few more details here. I don't know how it looks from your perspective, like straight up. I think it looks even longer than than I see it from here. It looks like a weird car, but I'm gonna keep it for now. Alright, so reflections. Let's talk about reflections. The main reflection in a car, usually, if you want to sketch, like, if you want to have a standard on how to sketch cars, that is the reflection that is in the middle of the car, of the body here. And that is the horizon being reflected in the car. So you want to keep that in mind, that you have the sky, and then you have the horizon somewhere being reflected, and that reflection is going to determine the line of the shoulder of your car. So usually the higher up you have this reflection, the more muscular the car is going to be. So if you lower this reflection and you keep it down here, it's going to look a bit weaker because the shoulders from a profile view, front or rear view, they're not going to look beefy because they're sunken down. I don't know if it makes sense, but that's just a way of looking where to keep in mind when you're sketching the horizon line. If you want to have a sporty car, keep the horizon line up. If you want to make a Fiat Multipla or something like that, you might want to lower the horizon line just a little bit. So what surfaces are facing are towards us now? So we have this big side view. This whole surface here is facing towards us. And this glass is facing towards us. So I'm going to add a reflection there because it's going to reflect the horizon as well. And I think we're ready to go in with markers. Let me just add those things in there too. Okay, so I'm gonna use some markers for this, some basic stuff. So if you don't have a lot of markers, you can still follow along in this video. So I'm using Cool Grays. So Cool Gray 6 and Cool Gray 4. And the black, of course, need the black one. I'm gonna use a few warm grays as well. I have two close to me. I don't know where the other ones are. Probably not close. So I'm using warm gray 1 and 5. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to use all these different cool grays for. So I like to start with the lightest shade when I start sketching. So in this case, it's the Cool Gray 4. And I almost always use this tip, the broad brush tip, because it gives me it's just faster. I get more surface area quicker. So just start by thinking about where this horizon line is going to be. And I marked it with the big pen before I started this, so I kind of have an idea where I want to put this. And please feel free to share this video if you like it. I would appreciate that. So I'm just putting down the basic the basic layer of markers here. We're gonna go in with a second layer, which is going to be the darker shade of gray. And since we're sketching on a what is it called, a tone paper, it's going to we kind of need to go a bit darker than if we were to sketch on regular white paper, just to get the contrast in there. So I'm thinking now about the surfaces, the surface areas that are facing me. And I'm thinking where my light source is and where the horizon is reflected in the car. Those are basically the three things that you need to think about if you want to. It's going to make it so much easier to figure out where the markers go. I think that's cool for this shade. I want to add a little bit more right here. Okay. Let's move on to the Cool Gray 6 now, which is 2 shades darker than the Cool Gray 4. And what you want to do with this is to emphasize the reflection that you already have here. So you want to keep some of these surfaces clear from marker, because those are the highlight points, and those are the surfaces that are directly hit by the sun and are obviously going to be white. So what I want to do is to fill in the center of this reflection, for example. Just add another layer of reflections to this whole thing. This might have been too dark. The step between, even though it was just 2 steps from 4 to 6, it might have been too dark. back and adjust that later on. Let's see, we have this line right here that I want to add some more value to it. And also the hood, I think I'm gonna make just a simple line like that. I do think it's a bit, the step between these two are a bit too much, so I'm gonna go back to the Cool Gray 4 and just go over it one more time. This is gonna make it, make the shade just a tiny bit darker. And when you sketch with markers, just don't think about making it look perfect, because if you make it look perfect, it kind of takes away from the artistic feel of the sketch. I like the sketches to be a bit imperfect and a bit dirty, because it actually adds, to me at least, it adds value to the sketch and it makes it more interesting. Alright, that was a quick Cool Gray 4 just to add some more contrast to it. And what I'm doing now, I'm going in with the black, and this is really gonna make the sketch pop because it doesn't get darker than black. So you just wanna start by adding it, for example, around the wheels. Which is not that easy all the time. As I said, you can always go back and adjust whatever didn't work out the first time. I seriously think that if you, for example, if you sketch something, you have a sketch session, and it turns out not to look the way you want it to look. If you with a sketch like 5 or 10 minutes to analyze what went wrong and try to fix it, then I mean that's when you learn what to do better next time and what actually went wrong, instead of just giving up and not trying to see what went wrong. Or you can try to fix the sketch, or you could even try start over again. So this line right here is pretty important, because that's the shading from the car on the ground, and that's gonna give it weight to the ground, and it's gonna make the car look like it's sitting on something. Also want to add this baseline here, make that black. And just continue to the rear like that. Same with the front. Just add the shadow of the car. And right here. And we can also add black to the top part of the window, side window. And the wheel, of course. So we want to have at least some rubber towards the surface, and not just have it roll on a rim. So you want to visualize that there's a black tire around this rim. And of course, rotate the paper to make it easy for yourself to get the curves and everything that you want. I'm just trying to keep it like this so you can see it better. I think we need to add some values to the wheels now, and that's what I'm going to use the cool warm gray for. So I'm going to start with the warm gray 1. Just add some. I don't even think that's going to work because we have toned paper, so you're not going to see it. So I'm going to jump into warm gray 5 and just go around this inside of the wheel. Since this is like a deep dish wheel, it's gonna have some shading that goes like this. And we have the, what's it called, the brake. The disc brake is going to cast a shadow down here on the inside of the wheel. There we go. And then just do the same thing on the front. Just go all the way around and add the shadow of the disc brake if you want to do that. It's all. You can probably stop right here and start another sketch if you wanted to do that. But I like to go a little bit deeper than this. So I don't know if I mentioned it, but add. Yeah, I did. Yeah. So you want to have the A-pillar visual through the glass here just to add some depth to it. I'm going to add some warm gray to this window. Alright, I do want to add some cool gray to the spokes because they look like they're just faded into nothing here. So keeping in mind what the light source is, from the top I want to add some shading to these spokes. So the surfaces facing down towards the ground are going to be dark. This wheel looks a bit messed up. It's not, they're not, the spokes are not perfect, but I think it works for now. Well, I'm not going to make another wheel anyways, so it does work for now. So from here, what we can do, we can start by adding some highlights. And for highlights, I use this. This is a Uni Posca pen. And what that does is it gives you the really white highlights. So if you have burn points or strong reflections somewhere on the car, this is what you want to use. I also use this white pencil just to get the tires. This is for softer reflections, and it's not going to give you an intense white highlight. It just kind of smooths everything out. So since the light source is coming from the top, that means that the top part of the tire are facing the sun, and that is what is going to be white, or at least have a bit of a highlight to it. That's basically what I use that pen for. The rest is all this Uni Posca pen, and you gotta shake it before you use it. And it has a tip like that, so it's really fine, and you can make some really cool highlights with it. I like to do this especially on the wheels and the rims. And it really pops on this paper as well, since it's already toned, so you can see the white even better than sketch or put these highlights on some cool gray marker on just regular white paper. Looks cool. And you can add these wherever you want, so you can either take it easy or go crazy with them. I want to add it to the spokes as well. Something like that, I guess. And you can even add this to just make the side here a bit more interesting. So you can add some weird highlights in here. Always keeping in mind where the light source is and what surfaces are facing up. And obviously I want to do the same thing on the rear wheel and the spokes back here. So let's do that. Just adding a burn point on top of this rim, like that. Same thing on the bottom. So I want to add this point on the opposite side of the wheel. Once you learn all these small or details, the tricks of sketching, it becomes a lot easier to understand where to put stuff, because that's that I was having for a long time before I started sketching. I was sketching in Photoshop almost 99% of the time because I didn't want to pick up a marker because I knew it was gonna look like crap. And that's the totally wrong mindset if you want to get better at something. You just have to do it more frequently and stick with the problems longer, and just learn the tricks that you need to learn to figure it all out. This is actually an air intake, so I'm gonna make that black. I forgot to do that, but I think I'm done with this Posca pen. Just add a few more touches. Let's go back to the black. Fill in this air vent right here. And is there anything else we need to do? Maybe fill in the lights. We can make them black as well. So the idea is that I want to start doing these videos more frequently, just for fun. And if you have any idea, or if there's anything you're struggling with basically when it comes to design or sketching, just send me a message or comment on this video, just to give me ideas on what to sketch in coming videos. So I'm gonna build up like a library of comments and go through them one by one, and just go Facebook Live with videos like this. Alright, so the final touch that I like to do is to go back to this guy, the Bic round stick, and clean up the lines that we did initially. Because sometimes when you go over the lines, when you go over the Bic pen with markers, if you're slow and you go over slowly, it tends to bleed and kind of blur out the lines, and that's why you might want to go back and just clean it up just a little bit like this. So for the wheels, we can clean this wheel arch up, add some sharpness to everything. It's not a necessary step, but I think it does make a difference. And also this air vent here, gonna clean that up. If we want to fill in this black, we can do that, but I'm just gonna leave it like that because I want to have the center of the focus right here. So these edges kind of blend into the paper and it looks cool. So I'm gonna keep it like that. Also, we can add some reflections from these spokes onto the inside of the wheel. That's another way of adding some depth to the design and to get some 3D effects going. So the spokes are cast side of the wheels. Pretty intense stuff. Gonna do the exact same thing on the on the front wheel. Well, this spoke is like 2 spokes in one, so I'm gonna use this shade to define where the spoke actually is. Let's see. All right, I think I am done with this. Let's see. It's all right. I think I'm done with this sketch for now, for today. And as I said, if you have any idea, see incoming videos, sketching and stuff, just message me or comment on this video, and I will see what I can do about that. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.